Hello, divine creation, divine marvels, children of God. I'm smiling so big because I haven't made a video in a long time, and I'm really, really happy to be doing so. I received a message from someone. A short story is that they have had reoccurring negative, bad, blasphemous thoughts that have been reoccurring. They tried everything to stop it. And then they wrote, and some spiritual stuff happened to me. All this started because I read about the unforgivable sin. I wish I had never read it. Now it seems like I'm doomed because I may have done it. I don't know what I could do. Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you and God bless. So, first of all, thank you for reaching out and God bless you. I'm really touched by this message, and it really. It really reminds me of my journey, which I'll share a little bit about, the journey of recovering from dogma and doctrine. So, I stopped believing in eternal hell in 1993, give or take. Maybe it was 92, maybe it was 94. No, I think it was more like 93, 92 or 93. But it took me almost 25 years to let go of the fear of hell. So for all those years, I didn't believe in it anymore. 27, 28, 29 years. But it took me so long to overcome the fear of it. Doctrine and dogma is very powerful because once you accept something as true, you've accepted it as true. And even if it's not true, even if you intellectually say, "Oh, I don't believe that anymore," it still has power over you. So I'm going to ignore your question and work my way around to it. So lately, I've been really thinking about what it means to be made in the image and likeness of God. And modern Christianity, which for me is Christianity of the last 1800 years, maybe 19, I don't know. Original Christianity is based around the fact that we're children of God. That's my conviction, that that's what Jesus taught. That's what he emphasized. And, but modern Christianity is all about our sinful nature. Many, many Christians believe we are rotten to the core. So the paradigm that I'm convinced that Jesus taught was that we are divine at our core. We are made in the image and likeness of God. And that we've fallen away from that as individuals and as the human race. We veered very far away from that, but that is not lost. That's covered over. Now, the other thing that I'm convinced that Jesus taught is that everyone will be saved. That was the good news, which is what gospel means, that everyone will be saved. And Paul expressed this idea by saying that God would be all in all. I think it's 1 Corinthians 15:20 something, where Paul describes this vision of how that every evil is brought under Christ's feet, and that then everyone will bow to Christ, and then Christ will, in essence, bow to God, that God will be all in all. It's a very different vision of what awaits us in the future. Radically different. And historically, it's what early Christians believed. So to my brother who reached out to me, I don't know what the cause of these negative thoughts. I mean, I do in a sense. For me, everything negative comes from evil, from the devil, which I do believe in. And the devil can win temporarily. Evil can temporarily, be the dominant factor in your life or someone's life. Certainly, there have been periods of my life where pain and suffering were the predominant force. And, my deepest conviction is the good will prevail. And that regardless of what blasphemous thought, and see, here's the thing. You might think to yourself, I'm thinking these thoughts, but are you? It sounds to me more like these thoughts are kind of being sent to you. And based on what you shared, it sounds like what happened is you read the verse about the unforgivable sin. It brought you into a place of fear. And then that fear just opens us up wide to receive from what's not good, from evil. So what you're going through sounds really painful, and I don't believe in the unforgivable sin. I think that was added in or misunderstood. That's my view. I look at all scripture through kind of three lenses. God is infinite goodness, utterly merciful, utterly forgiving. That's not to say there won't be consequences for negative actions, but those consequences are always going to be fair and just, and they're always going to serve. Like, God's just not going to beat someone up because they did something wrong. He's going to rehabilitate them. So that God is all good, that our essence is all good. After all, we are made in the image and likeness. Like, here's a jar of coconut oil. That's totally improvising this. If I had the ability, let's just say for a moment, I'm not claiming this at all, but let's say that I have infinite power and I'm going to make something in the image and likeness of this. How similar will the two things be? They're not going to be exact. But again, I have infinite power, infinite wisdom, and I'm going to make something in the image and likeness of this. The product is going to be very similar. It's going to be more similar than different. So to my brother who reached out to me, to myself, to everyone who watched this video, I'm utterly convinced that you are more like God than unlike God, based on that one verse, which I consider one of the most important verses in the Bible. I'm not saying you are God or that you're equal to God, but that you are more like God than you are unlike God. After all, Jesus pointed out that we are sons and daughters, that we are sons of God, that we are children of God. And so the third lens through which I look at every scripture, every theology is that line from Paul, that God will be all in all, that every evil will be defeated. Ultimately, and I think it's in Luke, it talks about the, I'll look up the verse. One moment. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, it's in Matthew. It says, "Truly, I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny." The judge may hand you over to the officer and you may be thrown into prison. Truly, I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny. Get out. You don't hear that talked about very much in modern Christianity. That's because somewhere around 400 AD, the Roman Emperor Justinian ordered the Catholic Church to eliminate the doctrine of universal reconciliation and to make the doctrine of eternal damnation a dogma. Up until that point, Christians primarily believed that everyone would be saved. Why? Because that's what Jesus taught, because that's good news. That's the good news. That's what gospel means, good news. It also means announcement of a victory, declaration of a victory, an announcement of a change of leadership. So I look at all scripture through those three lenses. God is infinite, limitless, perfect goodness, completely fair and just. That my essence and all of our essence is like God. And that everyone and everything will be reconciled to God. That's my bottom line. That's the lens through which I look at everything. And if something contradicts one of those things, I throw the contradiction out. One thing that really helped me was, there's a theory out there, and I think it's completely accurate, that if it's a scholarly opinion, it's not something you can prove, but I think it has pretty wide consensus, that if you knew nothing about the Bible and you picked up the Bible and you read it, you would draw two conclusions about salvation. Some people are going to be saved and some people are going to be damned, and everyone is going to be saved. Again, if you knew nothing about the Bible and you picked it up and read it, you would draw those two conclusions because both those messages are there. Now, the eternal part, almost every instance where it talks about eternal punishment or eternal damnation, it's a mistranslation. That's just a fact. But not all, but most. But still, how can we? So we take out the eternal part. That's ridiculous and a mistranslation. So we're left with everyone will be saved, and some will be saved, and some will be punished. How do we reconcile that? It's not too difficult. Early Christians believed in a purgatorial hell, a temporary place of cleansing for some people, that some people were, before entering into heaven, were going to need a cleansing, and that it was not necessarily going to be pleasant. It's the only way to reconcile that. For those who believe in eternal damnation or annihilation, they have to ignore many, 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 many verses. But those who believe in universal reconciliation and understand the early Christian understanding of temporary punishment, they can explain and include all those verses. And again, the idea of eternal just gets removed because it's not there. I was shocked. I looked at the Greek for, I think it's Matthew 5. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I actually went and looked up the Greek for the Sermon on the Mount, and it says, the English translation says, you'll be in danger of being thrown into hell. If you're angry at someone, hold on, let me find it. Danger of the hellfire, Matthew 5:22. If you say, "You fool, you shall be in danger of hellfire." In essence, if you're angry, you're in danger of hellfire. But it doesn't actually say that. It says the fire of Gehenna. It doesn't say the fire of hell in Greek. Gehenna was a place where the Hebrews burned their trash, and that fire is out. It's not an eternal fire. So this is a very long way of saying I don't believe in the unforgivable sin. Why? Because I believe in a perfectly good, loving, just God. I believe that I, like you, like everyone, is more like God than unlike God. And I'm utterly convinced that the good will prevail, that everyone and everything will be reconciled to God. So, back to the person who wrote this. So you have some grappling to do. I had some grappling to do with the idea of eternal damnation, and I would also ask the question: are you causing these blasphemous thoughts? My hunch is that through fear, reading about the unforgivable sin, it opened you up to fear, and fear is like fertilizer for not so much fertilizer. It's like a magnet. Fear is a magnet for evil, and that's my hint. Hey, Jason, that's my hunch about what happened. So I hope this is helpful, and thanks for saying hi, Jason, and to everyone else. Hello, hello, hello. Missed this channel. The good news is good. If Jesus' message is good news, which he said, according to the record, that's what he called it, then it's got to be good. It's got to be so good that it makes you undescribably happy. Otherwise, it's not the good news. It's not the gospel. Take care. Much love.